on, and then we press that button, and I think we're live. I think we are live. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. Dan's joining me.
Hi.
Dan has the pleasure of sleeping next to me every night for the next 6 nights. Yeah, right. So Essen Diary Part 1, because it was Part 0 yesterday. You're right. Can we get you on a bit? There you go. We're in Essen. So Dan arrived about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
We got here about 4:45. So without boring you of the details of my journey, it was get up at 5:30 this morning, get in a car with Luke Hector. Luke drove all the way here, Channel Tunnel, and then we got here at about 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I unfortunately didn't get to sleep till about 2 o'clock this morning. So I've had about 3 hours sleep, and don't listen to what Luke says. If you listen to Luke, he'll say that I slept all the way here. I didn't. I probably slept for like 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there. So yeah, I'm absolutely exhausted, which is why this video is a little bit earlier tonight, because I'm absolutely exhausted. Dan had a slightly more interesting journey.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got the plane from London Heathrow into Dusseldorf. And normally the train from Dusseldorf is nice and smooth, straight into Essen.
German trains.
Yeah, normally about half an hour, 40 minutes.
Now, if you're from the UK, you're going to laugh at what Danny's about to say.
But no trains. So it was rail replacement buses.
Bus replacement service.
Yeah, so I felt like I was back in London again.
But it was fine.
Yeah, thankfully there was a big purple line on the floor to follow. So there's obviously some engineering works going on.
Yeah.
Followed that, got on the bus and spent sort of maybe about an hour on the bus.
Yeah, you would have been here probably before us.
Yeah, I reckon.
If the trains would have been working.
Yeah, I reckon I probably lost in the sorting out of it maybe an hour on the journey. Yeah. So it wasn't too bad.
But we got here and it's been a fairly relaxing evening. There's been nothing really going on. There was only me, you, Luke.
Yeah.
And then Hilmar turned up a couple of hours after that, who's flown in from Iceland. The only really interesting thing to say about the hotel, and this is one of the life situations, and I'm going to be telling this story probably for the rest of my life, because what happened a couple of hours ago is one of the most unusual things that's ever happened to me. So we're in the Premier Inn, right next to the train station in the centre of Essen. It's a fairly big hotel.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of guys on reception, one of which is brand new. He's probably just started work today. And I don't mean that as an insult. They have said, he's new, we're training him. Okay, so that's fine. But one thing that I didn't want to do is, once I was here, I just wanted to stay here. I didn't want to go out for a fancy meal anywhere. I just wanted to stay here. There is a bar, there is a restaurant, and I thought, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll get a drink from the bar, and I'll have a pizza.
That's what we normally do.
That's what we normally do. There is like a McDonald's over the road and things like that. But I thought, no, I'm just going to stay here and just going to have a pizza. So there was a lot of people arriving just after us. So somewhere sort of between 6, 7 o'clock, 7:30, there was a lot of people arriving. And the two guys on reception were very busy. I waited for that queue to die down. And there was nobody in the bar area. So I figured, well, that's fine, because these two guys will probably just... I mean, there was nobody in the bar area to order drinks, so they didn't need somebody behind the bar. And I figured it's probably just one of these two. If you want a drink, they will just go and do the bar service. I thought that's fine, because it's fairly quiet. But I said, what's the situation with food? When are you starting serving food? Now, what follows is one of the most unusual 5 minutes of conversation of my life. And language wasn't an issue here. Their English was actually pretty good. But it started off with them basically saying outright, we don't recommend that you eat here. And I'm like, what? And they said, well, you can eat here, but we don't recommend it. And I'm like, this is your hotel. and I was like, are you suggesting that I don't eat in your hotel? Yeah. He said, we can give you a list of other restaurants, or there's a McDonald's over there, which is better. And I'm like, I said, McDonald's is not better than your hotel. And they went, no, it is. And it was just really confusing that the actual people at the hotel were recommending we don't eat at the hotel. Anyway, this conversation went on and I was getting more and more confused. And then I kind of joked and I said, is it you two that would prepare the food? And they say, yes. I said, so there's no chef on? And they said, no chef on. We prepare the food.
Yeah.
And I said, so it's all prepared in advance and it's frozen? And they said, yeah. And I said, and even the pizza? And they said, yeah. And I'm like, well, we ate here last year. We ate here multiple times last year, and we had pizza here, and it was fine.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll prefer to eat here if that's okay.
Yeah.
And he again tried persuading me to go to McDonald's. And I said, no, it's all right. If it's okay with you, I'll eat here. I'll have the pizza. And they both looked at me as if, you don't want to do that.
So the reception staff are hotel manager, bar staff, and chef. All in one.
Yeah, we think they're going to clean the rooms tomorrow morning as well. So then I went over to the bar area to get the menu, because they have a menu with all of the different pizzas and the different toppings that you can have on there. At which point they said, but there's no food tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we've just had this 5-minute discussion about food, and apparently there's no food tonight. So I'm even more confused at this point, and I'm saying, hang on a minute, weren't we just discussing food? Are you telling me that there's no food tonight? And they said, yeah, there's no food available tonight. Something, the fridge is broken.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so what about tomorrow night? And they went, no food, restaurant closed.
And breakfast.
No, breakfast's fine. Yeah. Apparently breakfast is all going to be fine.
How can they have breakfast fine without a fridge?
I don't know. It makes no sense whatsoever. So we're now in the Premier Inn, which is a big hotel right next to the train station that apparently is...
It's not a small hotel, is it?
It's not.
We're on level 8, right? So, and there's at least 10, 15 rooms out there, isn't there?
So there's 100 rooms or so.
Yeah, so, and I think it goes up a few more floors, so it's not a small hotel.
I mean, it's not a big problem because there are plenty of other places to eat. But for me, I just want to get back here. One of the problems that I've had in the past at Essen is that once you leave the halls, you then go and find somewhere to eat. You sit down, you get something to eat. By the time you're back at your hotel, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, which means you've missed out on chatting, gaming, whatever. So over the last couple of years, I've just tended to come back here, get food here, and just stay here. And then get some gaming in and chats and everything else. But apparently, the restaurant is closed, and they're not going to be doing food at all for the entire of our stay here. But it was just this...
We've got a
kettle
in the room, so maybe we'll go to
Lidl
Aldi
and get some pot noodles. So I've had a McDonald's tonight, and I try to eat healthy most of the time. So today I've had a KFC for lunch and a McDonald's for my evening meal. I'm probably going to end up eating fairly unhealthy for the next week, which is not great. Anyway, that's that. Wanted to issue 2 apologies for yesterday. There was a couple of things that I got wrong in the video yesterday, which a number of people have corrected me on. One of the problems with the stream yesterday is I was sat too far away from the laptop that I couldn't actually read the chat. So when I was talking about the game Evenfall, and I was crediting Alexander Pfister as the designer, and people in the chat were going, because I read through the chat afterwards, and people were like, Alexander Pfister is not the designer of this game. In fact, he's not even listed anywhere on this game whatsoever. So that was completely and utterly my mistake. The story is that Evenfall is being published by Nanox Games that I believe are based in Vienna, which is where Alex is from, and Alex does a lot of work with them and helps playtest their games and everything else. And it was Alex himself that told me about the game a long, long time ago, like maybe at the end of last year or maybe the start of the year. And since he told me about it, my brain assumed, well, it must be one of his games. He must be the designer. And he's not the designer of Evenfall. He's not even listed as a developer. So apologies to both the publisher and the actual designer of that game. I'm still interested in it because Alex has told me about it, and therefore he's told me about it because he thinks I will like it. So that's the first apology. The second one is less important. When I was talking about Victor Kabilki, I'm a big fan of his, and I said he's a great game developer. I also said he's a rulebook writer and editor. He's not. He's a games developer. I was getting mixed up with somebody else. So yeah, two corrections on yesterday's video. We've played a game tonight. Yeah. Do you want to tell people about it?
So the first
Can you remember what it's called?
Yeah. The first game of Essen 2023 was a game called Pyramido?
Pyramido, yeah.
Pyramid with O on the end.
Yeah, Pyramid with O on the end.
And it was a King Domino alike.
Yeah, very much so.
With some twist on it.
So this is a game that's coming out from, I think it's Synapses Games. And Luke Hector is going to be demoing this game over the weekend. Now, Luke normally does demos for Greater Than Games. He normally does demos of Sentinels of the Multiverse or Spirit Island, 2 of his favourite games. And this year, Greater Than Games are not technically, they don't have their own booth here. They are part of a bigger group, which does have a booth here, of which Greater Than Games are a part of that booth. So Luke applied and asked them, do you want demo staff this year? And they said yes, but Luke is not actually demoing a game from Greater Than Games. He's demoing this game from Synapse's games. So if it weren't for that, none of us would have heard about this game, because I've never heard of Synapse's games before at all. But Luke needed to learn the game, so he brought it down tonight. And as Dan said, if you've played King Domino, you already know half of this game. In fact, as Luke was reading out the rules, we all had disapproving looks on our faces, because we were like,
it's the same game.
Well, this is King Domino.
Yeah.
How have they basically reproduced the entire same game as King Domino and just given it a different name? Until you play round 2.
Yeah.
So if you don't know King Domino, this won't make much sense. But essentially what you're doing is you're placing your tiles, but instead of a 7x7 grid, you're placing them in a 5x4 grid. And you're not allowed to go outside that 5x4 grid. Mm-hmm. But in addition to placing the tiles, you have to put markers on the tiles. You don't just score for the symbols on the tiles.
Yeah.
You have to put a marker on, otherwise you don't score for it.
Yeah. So you're still getting groups of coloured areas.
Yeah.
And then within those areas are little icons, and you score points based on how many icons you've got within that area. Only if you've put a marker on that area. And
that's round 1. But then what happens after round 1 and everybody's completed a 5x4 grid? You take the markers off, you leave the tiles in place.
You score your points.
But now you play round 2. And the reason why it's called Pyramido is in round 2, if you imagine each tile is actually made up of 2 halves, and each half is made up of 4 squares.
Yeah.
So your 5x4 grid is actually 10x8 little squares. And your second layer is 1 square in.
Yeah.
So in other words,
you're building a pyramid.
You're building a pyramid. Every icon that you have on the lowest layer that is on the very, very outer rim will stay there. Which means in round 2, when you build the second layer, what you're trying to do is you're trying to connect to your existing groups of icons that you've got.
Yeah. And
suddenly, once we started playing round 2, we were all like, this game is really good. It's like King Domino, but it's not. King Domino is suitable for families or brand new gamers. This is, but it's more to think about. And those placement of your tiles in round 1 is actually really important, because you're going to score effectively for them again in round 2. So there was another level to think about.
2 things for me with it. Firstly, I would have liked to have seen the pyramid before I started learning how to play.
Yeah.
Because once you see it, you go, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's a pyramid. I'm going to be building layers. I want to get my icons around the edges so they count for future rounds. But because we sort of just focused on the first round and didn't think ahead, we didn't really know what we was doing.
Hilmar did. Hilmar built loads of icons around the outside.
Yeah. And the second thing is, my fiance, who is not a gamer, she'll play some games with me. She loves King Domino. We've got King Domino, Queen Domino. We've got King Domino Duel. So she really likes it. She always wants to play it. She is not a gamer, but I think she would play this because she knows King Domino well enough that this is not too much of a jump up in complexity.
And when you get to round 4, round 4 is 1 tile.
Yeah.
So at that point, you are basically completing your pyramid. You put the 1 tile on top and you try to link it to as many other icons as you've got. Anyway, we both enjoyed it.
I'd like to play it again knowing what we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so
that's, 40 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
And that's 4 of us?
Pyramido from Synapse's games. And that's it. And then we've come upstairs, I've grabbed a shower, and we're done for the night. That's pretty much it. The plan is to try and get some sleep, and then head to the halls tomorrow. So I just wanted to say, for people who are going to be attending Essen, where you can find me. There's a few places you can find me. First of all, I will be demoing Nucleum at the Board and Dice booth every day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, from 10 till 2. Now, those demo slots are full. I did advertise those slots out and people have booked spaces. So if you want to come along and get a demo from me, unfortunately, my personal slots are full. But the other tables at Board and Dice are free. So if you want to get a demo of Nucleum, you can. If you want to just come by and say hi to me, you can. But please be aware that I will be demoing, and it is a very heavy game. So I will be focusing on the demoing. The best place to meet me is there is a meet and greet event. In fact, it's called a meet and play event. But I will be there from 3 o'clock on Saturday for about 2 hours. If you don't know what the meet and play event is, just Google Meet and Play Essen 2023. And they've got their own website. And it's basically a large room that Spiel gives to the organisers. And everybody, all of the people who are going to be there are content creators like myself. And it's a really good idea. And it's basically, if you want to come along and meet any of the content creators, including me, then I will be there. They've got the room all day Saturday, and I'll be there from 3 p.m. till 5 p.m. That is the best place to meet me. It's just outside of Hall 3. You go outside of Hall 3 and up some stairs or something like that, and it's up there. I'm going to have to look up where it is myself. I'm also doing Patreon meetups. So if you are a Patreon supporter of mine, we are having meetups in the evenings. I will be sending a message out on Patreon tonight, just before I go to bed, to tell you where those meetups are. But that will be happening Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. So yeah, we'll be doing Patreon meetups every night. And if you are one of my Patreon supporters, that's probably the best place to come and find me. Because as I say, if you swing by the booth, I'm going to be focused on the demoing or the meet and play event. Dan, you're not working at a booth this year. You're just enjoying yourself.
Yeah, well, kind of. I've got
you got work to do,
but this first year, so I'm part of the Detective Society, which is escape room board games, and normally we have a booth.
You've had a booth for the last 2 years.
Yeah, we're demoing games. This year we're hard at work making our next adventure. So
do you want to show people I mean, this is a prototype. This is not the finished version of it.
I can show you a picture of a box.
Yeah, a picture of a box.
That's about it. I can show you in a minute.
Yeah.
But
this is coming out next year.
This is coming out next year, so we finished the Kickstarter for that. So I've got some meetings with manufacturers and publishers and things like that. But mostly I'll be looking at games and playing games, which is I'm really looking forward to.
Now the chat is all blurry for me because I've got my other glasses on.
We have had some good questions.
What questions?
One of the questions we had was after the show each day.
Yeah.
Is there a good Denoir says where would people recommend you actually play games after each day?
So one of the things which is not unique about Spiel, but is one of the features of Spiel, is at 7 o'clock when the halls close and everybody leaves, and where the convention is in a big exhibition centre in the south of Essen. There's nothing there.
No, it's like a residential
absolutely
area,
nothing.
Isn't it?
So everybody leaves and walks away, goes to hotels, gets on the train, drives away, and an hour after that, it's just absolutely quiet. So where do people go? People go back to their hotels. There is no open gaming area. Everybody just goes back to hotels. And if you know the Premier Inn where we're staying, the lobby is going to be filled with people playing games. Motel 1 has a very large area for people playing games. It's basically hotels. There isn't anywhere else to go for open gaming after hours. You've just got to sort that out yourself.
Yeah.
I saw that Nithranya Branislav said that he played Pyramido at UK Games Expo. So
yeah, nice. Are there enough copies available of Nucleum?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how many copies. Yeah, I don't know how many copies they have brought. And I also don't know how many have been pre-ordered and how many is too many. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, what you're asking, Chris, is are they going to sell out on the first day? I don't know. Nucleum is still the number one hottest game on the Essen ranking tracker. Yeah. A lot of people have pre-ordered it. Those people who haven't pre-ordered it are probably going to rush to try and get a copy. Yeah. I don't know how many they've brought with them. I could ask. And I will find out, but right now I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, last year I bought a copy of Hamlet on a bit of a whim, just because I like the look of it. I didn't pre-order it or anything, and it was one of the last few copies available before I think they sold out at Essen. So I know that people do sell out, but I don't know.
Yeah, some people sell out because they only bring
a certain number,
100 with them. If they bring 2,000 copies of Nucleum and sell out, that's a worthy sell. But I don't know. I'm actually curious. So when I go and see Board and Dice tomorrow, I will ask them the question of how many copies of Nucleum did you bring with you? What tends to happen, and CGE do this as well, is CGE actually have another space in another hall, which is basically a locked room. And it's a storeroom. And what they have is they will have the stock at the main booth, and then when they need to replenish, rather than leaving it in a van outside, they go to another hall, get more of it, and bring it in. But I don't know how many they have.
Have you met many gamers at the hotel?
Well,
we've seen people.
We've seen people gaming.
Some gamers.
There was a guy playing Trois Dice, and there was a group playing Earth. And there were various other people in the hotel who were obviously gamers. We were doing the spot the gamer. So as people were coming in, we were like, gamer or not gamer. And I think most people staying here are gamers. But it is the Tuesday night.
T-shirts on with like Star Wars on or something like that.
But it is the Tuesday night. The only people who would be in Essen on the Tuesday night are exhibitors or press or people like that. The bulk of people who are just here as attendees, they will be arriving tomorrow. So tomorrow night it's going to be busy, I think. Any other questions? Ross is saying he said he can't be here this year. It's a shame we don't see you again, Ross. Ross is the co-designer of Woodcraft.
Nice.
From last year.
Someone was asking about taxis from the airport.
I don't know.
20-minute drive, 17 miles it was. I'll be honest, the bus was easy to get, and it was comfortable. I had a seat the whole way, and it cost me probably about €12, something like that. So
what was the train? It's about the same.
The train, it was a train ticket.
Oh, it was a train ticket, right? Okay.
So unless you're really like in a stress to get here super quick, I'd get the rail replacement bus because it's really easy. There was 2 stops, so it went sort of up and across. So it takes a little bit longer than a car, but it's a big cost difference.
I don't think you need to get a taxi if you've arrived at the airport. Unless there's 6 of you, you might as well get this train ticket and this bus service.
And I'm assuming the trains are out because for a while because there were permanent sort of arrows on the floor, indicating rail replacements. So if you are coming and you was planning on getting the train, even later in the week, I imagine you're going to be having to get the rail replacement bus.
So other things that I'm looking forward to over the next few days, I have spoken a number of times over the years with Adam Kwapinski, board game designer, and I've had the pleasure of actually working with him professionally on some games together. And I have, as I say, I've spoken to him many times over text chat and verbally as well. Never met him. I'm going to meet him this weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. Ian O'Toole sent me a message about 30 minutes ago asking me if my meetup was happening at the same time and same place as last year. Or in fact, I don't think Ian was here last year. In fact, I can't remember when I last saw Ian, but I chat with Ian now and again. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm still in contact with him, but I think it might be 3 years since I last saw Ian O'Toole. So it's going to be great to see Ian again. Conor McGooey, we've just spent a quarter of an hour chatting with him. People like that, I only see once a year. And yet they feel like friends because I speak to them fairly regularly.
It's nice.
So Vitor Lacerda, Conor McGooey, Randall from Eagle Griffin Games, and loads of other people that I've got to know over the years. It's going to be really good seeing them again. I did find out that Vlada Shavatel may not be here. He's unfortunately broken his leg a couple of months ago, and he had an appointment with his physiotherapist over the weekend, and he was going to ask his physiotherapist whether he should come to Essen or not. And he sent me this really funny message. He said, after I've seen my physiotherapist, if he allows me to come to Essen, I will happily sit down in bold with you and have a chat. Because obviously he can't stand up for very long. But yeah, seeing people is always a good thing, especially when I spend so much of my time chatting with these people over text messages or things like that. So that's always the good thing. But other than that, I'm not going to be playing many games. You're going to be playing lots of games, and Dan's going to be feeding back to me which games are good. So you're probably going to spend the night going through that list that I gave you and seeing which ones you want.
Yeah, I made a sort of brief list based on what you told me.
Based on my list.
Yeah, of what sounded like up my street. I like sort of Euro games, resource management, engine builders. I'm quite weird in that I like the dry themes, so I like business games, like anything with trains is good.
But you're going to look up Rise of Civilizations that Luke was telling me about. Path of Civilizations. I keep calling it Rise.
I've got I own Boon Lake, and obviously there's an expansion for Boon Lake, which looks cool. Age of Innovation is one that you recommended. That sounds really cool. Shipyard, building ships. What could be better than that? Underwater Cities expansion. I've never played Underwater Cities, but it's one that I've always wanted to play, so maybe I'll get a look at that. And obviously Nucleum sounds great as well. So,
but the thing is with Nucleum, you were saying that you might love the game, but you don't have the play group for that.
So I'm probably not going to be buying a lot of games, which is good because my suitcase won't handle them. But it's nice to see like what you like and then go back to what various groups.
But you'll be at GridCon.
Yeah.
So that's 3 days of playing games.
Yeah.
So
so
cool.
Looking forward to it.
Right, we're going to wrap things up now. Thank you very much for watching. Tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow should be at what would be the normal time, so it'll be 10:30 my time, 9:30 UK time, 8:30 GMT. I'll say that. We'll see how tomorrow goes. But yeah, tomorrow night I'm going to be playing Evacuation, whereas tonight was very laid back, not much going on. Played a quick game of Pyramido. Tomorrow is going to be a much longer day. Lots of time in the halls tomorrow, and then back here playing Evacuation tomorrow night. So if you want to know what I think about Vladimir Suhi's new game Evacuation, 24 hours from now, this is where I'll be talking about. And you're in that game as well, aren't you?
Sorry, Paul, just to say, actually, I've got in my bag here a copy of Mage Knight. So do you fancy staying up? And
that works for me.
3 hours.
Yeah, full conquest.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, right. We're going to go off and play Mage Knight now. We'll see you all later on. Thanks very much for watching.